Well, South African schools have lost nearly a year of learning time as a result of COVID-19. That is according to UNICEF. The latest statistics from the National Income Dynamics Study, Coronavirus Rapid Mobile Survey, UNICEF adds that over 500,000 learners have reportedly also dropped out of school altogether over the past 16 months. Let's now unpack this. We're now joined via Zoom by UNICEF South Africa's Deputy Representative Muriel Mafico. Thank you so very much for being with us here on SABC News. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Flo. Thank you for the opportunity.
Let's start off with your reaction. We heard from the Minister of Basic Education saying that, you know, on her side, in terms of her department, schools are indeed ready to open. That is from tomorrow, but certainly we're waiting, as we are, for the President to have the final say this evening. What are your thoughts on this, and are you of the view that indeed schools should certainly be opening up, and why?
Thank you again, Flo. When we look at the past 16 months, the closure of full-time learning happened last year in March. And in the past 16 months, we have witnessed the massive disruptions that have happened across the country in all sectors, but also in the education sector. No one has been spared. And I think what is now very evident is that children have suffered immensely in the last 16 months of disruption to learning. We are seeing these impacts across the globe, and many countries are actually also looking and exploring opportunities for reopening schools safely, because the cost of not doing so is way too high.
Yeah. You know, I see this number of 500,000, which you've also actually put there as forming part of your argument, the fact that 500,000 learners at this time have dropped out. Let me ask this. Are we sure that this dropout rate, this very high number, are all of those linked in some way or another, directly or indirectly, to the issue of us being in a pandemic? I mean, we do live in a country, to be honest, where the dropout rate is quite high in any time, whether we're in a pandemic or not. But, you know, you do point to this number, so it's certainly important for us to then analyze if indeed we're attributing that huge number directly to the issue of the pandemic.
Well, the dropout rate, first of all, South Africa has been making steady gains in retaining children in school. Yeah. In fact, I think as way back as 20 years ago, we were looking at high retention rates in school. And yet at the moment, we are seeing the 500,000 that have dropped out of school, as you rightly mentioned. We also know that the more you have disruptions in learning and the more you have absenteeism, then the probability of those children actually dropping out of school is very high. What we also know is that the disruptions that have happened have not only impacted learning. I think it's important to recall that schools are not just centers for learning. They're really centers for integrated service delivery for children. Yeah. So you're looking at other services like nutrition services, school feeding programs that have been massively disrupted in the last 16 months. You are looking at protection services, counseling, which children normally access in school settings, which have also been disrupted. Another aspect has to do with even sports, interaction that happens in school. So the learning that happens is not just between a child and a teacher and maybe some resources given online. It's really an experience. It's the socialization which contributes to the overall learning experience and education experience of children. So a lot has been lost in the last 16 months because of the disruption of in-person learning.
Speaking of that loss in the past 16 months, I mean, one wonders how all this lost time can in fact be recovered. And no doubt we'll still be having, some gaps. We'll obviously be hearing of teachers falling ill, for example, still. We'll still be hearing of other issues that might affect the smoothness with which we're used to of schools running due to the fact that we are in a pandemic. And I think on the back of that question, Muriel, what support would you then be, be able or be in a position as UNICEF to be offering to the Department of Basic Education as people who are so actively involved in the issue of children?
Sure. So UNICEF is among many, many players that are supporting the Department of Basic Education. I think when we look at recovering in the education sector, when we look at building back better in the education sector, this requires a whole of society approach. We really need a very multi-sectoral approach. So as UNICEF, we are supporting the Department of Basic Education and the National Education Collaboration Trust in several ways. One way is through enhancing the access to hygiene, hand hygiene services, as well as hand washing stations.
Yeah.
It's very important that we maintain the preventive measures, which include promoting regular hand washing. So that's one area where we are supporting. We are also supporting in the development of critical resources to help parents and caregivers. So we have developed, for instance, resources that can help parents make sure that the return to school is done in a safe and protective manner. We have also developed resources that are targeted at teachers and educators, again, to help them ensure that the school environment is safe for the children and it is safe for the teachers and educators. And then lastly, another element has to do with safe transportation. We are aware that many children commute to school on a daily basis. Therefore, we have developed materials together with the Department of Basic Education and the National Education Trust to ensure that there is safe transportation for children and that the transporters are aware of the safety measures that they need to implement. Then there's the overall support to teachers, which is so critical at this time, making sure that they have the right resources, they have the right support systems for them to provide safe learning opportunities.
All right. Muriel, an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for giving us your time here on SABC News.
Thank you so much, Flo, for this opportunity. It is a critical moment for the country, and we look forward to continuing to support South Africa in its journey to reopening schools safely.
All right. Thanks so much. That's Muriel Mafico, who is UNICEF South Africa's Deputy Representative.